Hi guys, welcome to Q&A, I think part 4 now, with KCTV. We're answering your questions as honestly and as best we can about Corfu, about us, about anything you want to ask us. So don't forget, keep the questions coming, and it can be anything. What we like, what we don't like, anything about Corfu. Ask us a question about how we think about the world, anything you want. This week's questions, there's 2 or 3, 4 questions to get through. Some of them are slightly combined, and there's one that I didn't do last week. Many apologies to Linda and Kelvin Truswell. I kind of forgot it on purpose because we were overrunning. Anyway, yours is first this week. So Linda and Kelvin, here you go. Linda and Kelvin, basically, what made me move out to Corfu? There's a lot of reasons why people move out to Corfu. I mean, there's a lot of personal reasons. I was in work, and I've had 4 or 5 jobs, and I lasted about 3 years in every single job I had. It kind of, after 3 years, I kind of moved on. So I was in another point. I was actually working as a postman at the time, where I had all these people saying, "Oh, you'll end up here for life. You'll be here forever." Now, I'm not knocking the job because it's not a bad job. But I said, no, that's just not me. I can't be here forever. And then I'd come on holiday to Corfu for a few years on the trot, liked it, and thought, oh, that's what it must be like all the time. So I thought, that's it, that's the place for me. That year that I'd holiday in Corfu, someone had actually said to me, why don't you come out and work out a season? So I thought, well, why not? So basically, I'd been out on holiday. You see this happen. Virtually everybody that I know, I think, does it. There's a few people that I know have moved out without even ever being here, which I find a bit bizarre, but everyone to their own. So we'd holiday here for a few years on the trot, and decided it was time to move out and give it a go. So I dropped my work. Well, I had a work release for 6 months. I have to say, the manager of the office was very surprised 6 months later when he sent me a letter saying, "You're due back to work, Mr. Goodman." And I went, I don't think so, but many thanks for the work release anyway. He wasn't best pleased. Sorry, Royal Mail. Anyway, so basically, yeah, moved out to Corfu, and been here ever since, pretty much. So that's 16 years in April for me. It was the way most people do it. Been holiday for a while, looked around, liked what I saw, did need to relax at the time, needed a different pace, needed a different everything. And so, hey presto, here I am, 16 years later almost to the day. Anyway, thanks Linda. By the way, everybody, Linda got married in Greece as well, and she's a huge fan. So, thanks Linda and Kelvin. Next one, Alan Miller, he wants to know about renting long term or buying. Which is easier? In my honest opinion, one can feed the other. If you're going to come and move out to Corfu, I think we've said this before, but it's very important that you test out the water. So I would move out and grab a bit of the winter, grab a bit of the summer, and rent maybe rent 12 months first and check it out. I think it's really important. Is it easier to rent or easier to buy? Well, it's a lot easier to rent, trust me. I've never been through the buying situation myself. I've always rented. Costs, my own financial position, and just the way I am. I like to chill out. I like to be able to move every now and then if needs be. I like the idea of freedom. So for me, buying. There's a lot of red tape with buying, with renting. You know, you put a couple of ads out, you spread the word, and you'll find somewhere to rent pretty quickly. Anyway, Alan, I hope that answers your question. That kind of runs in as well to John Goldup. Thank you very much for your question, John. John wants to know how much rent is, taxes and water rates, etc. Water rates are dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. It's about the only thing that if you don't pay, you won't get cut off for. He says. Watch us get cut off tomorrow. No. Taxes, I wouldn't like to quote all the taxes. There's so many hidden taxes on property, etc, 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 and there's so many different rules and regulations. They're changing all the time, and to be honest with you, I'm not up on exactly what's being paid and when it's being paid and everything. As goes rent, you can expect to pay, depending on area of course, depending on where you choose. We'll talk about, say, Kassiopi for instance. Kassiopi, you'd expect to pay for a private rental for a 2-bed apartment, probably no bills included, about 350 to 450 a month. That would just be a 2-bedroomed apartment. So generally cheaper than the UK, but that would differ. You come to Akaravi way, Roadaway, or you live inland where there's less amenities. It's not such a sought after resort, just like anywhere in the UK. Obviously here depends where you live, how much you pay. But I would go anywhere between 200 for a 1-bed apartment in a not so desirable place, up to, well, you can pay up to 1,000. But that's going to be somewhere with a swimming pool and everything. That's long-term rent, guys. Don't mix that up with any other short-term lets, i.e. short-term summer lets or anything. Anyway, John, thank you very much for your question. And that also leads into Kevin Baker. Thanks again, Kevin. Kevin sending us some of the more in-depth and tricky questions to answer, shall we say. Kevin Baker wants me to answer and let everybody know how the cost of living is on Corfu, and how to keep the costs down if you do decide to move out. Well, we're starting the cost of living in general. We'll give you some ideas. The one thing I want to say first off is this all depends on where you live in the UK, where you come to live in Corfu, and how you live your life, and your own financial pocket, let's say, your own financial background, because we all live very differently. Even there's a whole heap of expats on Corfu, but we all live quite differently. We live to our means, we live to our tastes, and enjoy what we enjoy about the island. Financially, some basics. Renting generally, we've just covered it. It's cheaper here than it is in the UK. Electricity, pretty much a muchness. Petrol, diesel, just recently it's just come to almost even keel. I checked it out on the internet. I've seen some of the prices locally. I checked it out on the internet, the price in the UK at the moment, and it's within 4 or 5 cents to the pound, to the litre. What else can we talk about? Shopping in the supermarkets, cost of living when it comes to shopping. You can buy whatever you buy in the supermarket depends on how much it's going to cost. Again, I know that sounds really quite bizarre, but if you're buying a Lurpak butter in Corfu that's probably had to make 2 or 3 trips to actually land in a supermarket in Corfu, it's always going to be a lot more than a local block of butter, even a block of butter that's had to come from Athens. I mean, you can pay 3-4 euros for some Lurpak, and you can pay 69, 70, 75 cents for a little block of butter. So there's some huge difference. If you stick generally to some of the UK products and worldwide renowned products, then it's going to be a little more expensive to live here than in the UK. If you buy local bread from the bakery, if you eat some of the local produce, it's generally going to be cheaper, generally. But this all depends on where you shop and how you shop. For instance, what type of eggs you eat. I mean, it can be bog standard eggs at 98 cents, or you can pay 5 euros for some heart-caring, whatever, cholesterol-free eggs. Anyway, the shopping all depends. Alcohol, generally it's cheaper in the UK. I would say overall, just about generally, supermarket shopping in the UK is cheaper than here. Going out to eat. Here's another one. Again, all about personal taste. Are you going out in the UK to eat in a Wetherspoons, or are you going out to eat in the local taverna here? Again, you know, you can walk out of both with a full belly and a few drinks for next to nothing, and very good value. But if you go out to a restaurant here, and if you go out to a restaurant in the UK, I mean proper restaurants, probably cheaper in Corfu. Eating out, again, Kevin touched on the keeping the costs down. Keeping costs down, restaurants, we don't eat out every day. I mean, we're in a position where we eat out on birthdays and special occasions, just like you would do in the UK, and that's not something, you know, that's something that we stick to, and most people in the UK would do that. So when you're moving out here, you know, you have to remember, and this is one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give anyone of keeping costs down, is that it's a wonderful place to live, and it's fantastic in the summer and it's fantastic in the winter. But when you move out here, it's not a holiday. Once you've moved, you're living somewhere else. It's just like moving from one street to another in the UK, but you're moving away from the UK. So it's not a long-term holiday. And that, then, if you're not out drinking every night, if you're not out eating every night, if you're not going to see things every day of the week, paying for petrol every day, paying for sunbeds every day, paying for food every day, eating out, drinking out, going to museums every single day, then it will cost you. Holidays, yeah, wow, come and have a great holiday, spend your hard-earned cash and have a great time. But keeping the cost down if you're moving out is really important. That my biggest piece of advice would, it's not a long-term holiday, you're moving home. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Sarah's getting a bit tired. The one last thing I want to do is don't forget the questions for next week, and also, of course, happy Valentine's, everybody. Love from Corfu.